In conversation with instructor Danny Maude, this is Golf Smarter, number 841.
This is Golf Smarter.
Welcome back to the Golf Smarter podcast, Danny.
How you doing, Fred?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to have you back on the show. You are a regular topic of conversation with my foursome, fivesome, sixsome, whatever. We have a bunch of guys that play together. And did you see what Danny Maude did recently? Congratulations, man. It's not many influencers that get to do what they love to do and not focus on how you're influencing, but focus on what you do best.
Yeah, I truly can say I'm having the time of my life, and I do absolutely love what I do. It's, I'm very, very fortunate to be able to do that,
Are you producing your videos as well, or you hand that over and let somebody else worry about that garbage?
It's a year anniversary that I got Leah on board. So people are saying things have improved on the channel. It's nothing to do with me. It's to do with handing it over to somebody who really knows what they're doing. So yeah, I now just sit in front of the camera, and I've got Leah doing all the editing, and yeah.
And how many cameras? You have 2 cameras set up every time? Now I'm curious on the technical part.
Yeah. So we've actually upped it. So we've got a camera down the line, another one face on, and then I've usually got Leah's usually has a moving one. So we have one that just adds a bit of movement around about 45-degree angle, and we just means we capture stuff, and just that's the other thing. Just add more interest. One stage I had one camera set up behind me, and that was it. For quite a while. So and it was in HD, so you could never zoom in either. So yeah. So it's a lot better. It's a lot better. Yeah, if shooting 4K, exactly. I didn't know.
Oh yeah, you have to so you can zoom in, right? So I'm curious.
Yes, exactly.
Do you go in with a plan of like, all right, this is the goal of this one. I want to keep it at 10 minutes or 15, or you just let it rip. You just riff on a topic.
Yeah, never really think about the length ever. It is what it is.
Okay.
What I do, I mean, look, probably the best thing to do is to kind of give you an example of this week. So we shot to this Saturday's video was like 14 minutes long, and that's really probably longer than I really want it to be, but it is what it is. And my goal is to make sure that somebody leaves knowing exactly how to go and work on this particular thing, whatever it might be. Usually it's me recalling. This week was a great example. So I had a student come over. It was Shilpesh. So Shilpesh comes over and didn't want to be filmed, which is absolutely fine. But he was struggling with a big slice. So we were testing a couple of things, but we gave him this one thing, and he was literally, I'd never given it to anyone before, and it was unbelievable. It worked like instantly. We talked about kind of the handle leading the club at head away, and he got a complete rhythm. And in his own words, he was hitting it like the best he's ever done it in 30 years, and it was just so simple. Now, it could have been a fluke, but do you know what? I had a couple of students fly over from Germany, and one of them had a very similar problem, so I suggested it to him. Same thing, great result. So for me, I was like, this could be a great video. Why don't I suggest it? Why don't we say, look, here's the thing, there's a pattern here, and I just literally talk about what we did. This helped this person do this, and this. It's super simple to do. Here's the pattern, and if you can relate to it and you like it, go and try it. If not, that's fine. And that's basically my videos. This is why people said to me,
go ahead.
No, well, I think this is one of the reasons why, people said to me, why do you still coach? Because we look financially, we do well out of socials and all things like sponsors and stuff, but I love coaching, and I can't do what I do without coaching. I need to be, with in the trenches, as it were, helping golfers get better. All the ideas and all the stuff that I do, I just don't think you could be a good coach and a good on socials in terms of coaching on socials if you aren't actually coaching. And I know that there's a lot of people out there maybe, producing content and they're just not coaching. And I feel like the ideas and how you train people, every lesson I do is different. There's different people.
But you have this ability to make it simple. And that's one of the things of what I love about watching your videos is you see a common, I don't even want to say a complex, but a common problem, like a big slice.
Yes.
Look like, oh, he's unique. No, he's not. There's so many of us that have this issue.
Yep.
And your ability to communicate it in a way that makes sense and gives me the opportunity to walk away going, I got it.
Yeah, well,
on a video. You're not touching me. You're not working with me, but I got it.
That's my goal. That is my goal. If you said to me when I'm heading out to
congratulations.
Yeah, that's my goal. I mean, that is basically it. I mean, that is my goal. When I think about videos, if that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about, how do you go away and realizing that you're not with me, so you can't really ask me loads of questions. So how do you go away with a very, very clear direction on how to go and practice this and work on it? That's it.
You also give away a lot.
How do you mean?
Give away a lot. You include. Well, no. You have things that, and at the end of this video, you sign up, I'll send you.
Oh, practice plans.
You have printed your practice plans.
Yeah, summaries. Well, I think again the same idea. So, with the practice plans, the twofold with the practice plans. The first is when you go to a driving range. I don't know if you've ever done this. You've watched a video and you're like, oh God, what was that? What was that point in the video? And then the problem is
Right.
You're not really going to get to the driving range and start watching the video again. So the idea behind the practice plans was to kind of give somebody something that they could actually take away, print out, and take if they enjoyed the video and go and take to the driving range. So there's a little summary. And we got loads of people like putting these things in binders and saying that you should create a book out of this. So maybe sometimes we might do that, and then the other side of doing that was the business side. We thought, well, YouTube weren't. I got people contacting me and saying, YouTube aren't showing me your videos. I've turned on all the notifications, but they're not showing me your videos. So what we did was we said, well, why don't we just create these practice plans and get people to sign up via the email, so then I can email you the video every time I release it, so that it'll be more likely to get into your inbox than not. So that's what we did. Yep. So there's the business side of it, and there's a kind of like a standard. It's going to help you as well. So.
Don't you just love the fact that when people make suggestions, it's always, hey, this would be great. Why don't you do more work?
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's like, here's something you can do for me, and it's more work for you.
I know. Do you know what I do? Do you know what the practice plans? Someone said to me, the last 2 or 3 weeks we've been on holiday, and I'm a little bit behind on the 2 or 3 practice plans. And I do sometimes think, what have I done? Because there's so much work. There's so much work goes into these practice plans. We thought, do you know what? Maybe there's a different medium. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll create some audio. Maybe I'll do an audio one. So I'll literally, where somebody, rather than look at it, I could maybe actually create an audio plan where we say, like, right, Fred, what I want you to do now is grab your 7-iron. Let's say you grab your 7-iron, come with me, and what we'll do is we'll head over to the driving range. And what we'll do is I want you to hit a few shots. Now, just hit a few half shots. So I was like talking you through the practice. So we tried that a little bit. That's gone down really, really well. But people said, that's brilliant, Danny. I said, can we have that and the practice plan? So I was like, what? I'm just giving myself more and more work.
Right. Well, just know that a lot of people just listen to YouTube. I'm amazed at how many people listen to podcasts on YouTube.
Really?
So you don't have to do extra work. Your YouTube videos can work. Yes. YouTube is when I started publishing the shows, just the audio alone on YouTube, my audience on YouTube doubled.
Wow.
The Golf Smarter TV subscription rate went up. It doubled. Now, it's not significant. It's nowhere near what you have,
Yeah.
but it was noticeable.
Wow, that's amazing.
So you don't have to keep doing additional things because the point is what you teach is effective and people want more of you and they want to do whatever they can to get more out of you for them. So just keep yourself sane.
Yeah, that's sometimes.
Make sure you get time with your family. And then let's take a break for this timeout and we'll be right back. As the father of adult children, and one of which who plays golf, I really appreciate you giving lessons to your father.
Yeah, yes.
Because I play with guys that are seniors that have grandchildren that, don't have the game that they used to have, that have a game in their mind that is not necessarily what I think that we all have a game in our mind that is not necessarily what we see on the golf course.
Yes.
But your ability to work with your dad and have humor with it and no tension has really been helpful. Thank you.
No, I really enjoyed it. It was just a random thing. I think the first one he came over at Christmas time and he was I think it was his drive. He's always had a slice on and off and I said, look, let's just film it and let's see what people think. My audience, a lot of them are senior golfers as well, and they may appreciate just seeing you. People slice it. So we put the cameras on and basically forgot about the cameras, to be fair. Just literally just filmed the lesson and people loved it. People really enjoyed it. And for me, it's just really great to get that opportunity to help him a little bit. This recent with the short game was just brilliant. His face at the end was just a picture. He was so chuffed because he'd been shanking his chip shots as well and hitting them out to the right, and he really was duffing it, and he was swinging the club so far around his backside. It was so funny. And then, but yeah, by the end of it, he was getting his lovely floating shots with a bit of backspin. So yeah, it's great. It's great to have that time.
Oh, yeah. What is that about shanking it? It's like I feel like there's this great swing going on, and all of a sudden the ball is just shooting out to the right. It's like, wait a minute, what did I do differently that time? What is going on?
Yeah, there's two.
Help me.
Yeah, there's two ways to shank it. The first of all, you're going to make sure it is a shank. It's come off the hosel and not the toe. Some people get those misinterpret those, but usually a lot of shanks. Some people say they come from the inside, where you're hitting more in to out. But for me, doesn't happen that often. Most shanks I find they kind of are in the slice family. They tend to be when people are coming over the top and they're bringing the neck into the golf ball. Now, people say, well, why do you hit a beautiful shot 1 minute and then a shank the next? Well, the shank isn't that far away from a pretty good shot. But the problem is the results are brutal. So it feels like you're miles away. And if you think about it, the ball goes off way to the right. So the temptation for the golfer when they see the ball going way to the right is to what? Swing more to the left, which is going to exacerbate this,
right.
The actual shank. So, and that's what tends to happen. So, yeah. So going back to your question, why do they suddenly happen? Well, it's like, why do any bad shots suddenly happen? Where it's just, you could be hitting 3 straight drives in a row, and then out of nowhere comes a great big push into the trees or slice into the trees. I think the realization that what we have to do is we're not robots, we're humans, and realize that the best players in the world are only hitting, 30-40% of fairways, and they're only hitting 2/3 of the greens in regulation. So the best in the world are hitting those bad shots. And I think what we have to do, certainly as amateur golfers, is give ourselves a bit of a break, and realize
Please. Yeah.
We have to accept that we're not going to hit face.
I think that as amateur golfers, we have to trust it. We have to trust what works. And not question it when it doesn't work once. I find for myself that when I just, like if I have a bad shot, okay, I'll have another bad shot. But I'm not going to start correcting things, like like, okay, how do I overcompensate
Exactly.
for that? How do we prevent ourselves from overcompensating and just trust what works for us most of the time?
Well, I think the one thing,
Does that make
yeah, it
sense?
completely makes sense. I think the one thing, the best thing I personally ever did for my own game many years ago, and then I've really passed that on to my students, was my coach Bill Ferguson said to me, he said, when I started hitting some bad shots, don't try to stop them. Now, this is something that obviously it's easier to do on the driving range, a lot harder to do on the golf course because you want to hit a good shot the next time. But my question to you and your audience would be, what are you trying to stop? So if you do hit a bad shot and you hit it into slice and you try and change it, what are you trying to change? Now, most times people are trying to change something which is what they think they're doing, but they don't know. So my advice to anybody is your job on a golf course and on a driving range for that matter is to don't try to change stuff consciously. Try to allow the body to feel and experience what might be happening when you're slicing it or hooking it. Because once the body can experience what's actually happening in the moment, it can start to do some changes. So an example would be, so sometimes for instance, I hook the ball. So I'm not a slicer, but I do hook the ball now and then. So one of the things I'll do is I remember playing a big tournament and I'm on the practice ground and I had the hooks. Now, traditionally, in my early days, without knowing this, I'd be like starting to panic, thinking, oh my God, I've got to fix this before I get out onto the golf course. And that mild panic, I'm trying this, I'm trying that, and nothing's working. And I get to the first tee kind of now in a state of kind of panic, and it's a disaster. But once I developed this skill, what I did was this. I'd hit the hook, and I'd step onto the next shot. And I would approach it with a mindset of wonder. I wonder what's happening. Let's just hit this shot again. So if I go again, I'm not going to try and hook it. I'm just going to swing and allow the hook just to happen. And I might go, no, I don't feel anything. I don't know what's going on. Let's just keep going. I know intellectually what's going on. I know my club face is potentially closed, but I don't know why. So if I go again, just keep hitting shots. And what I suddenly notice is I'm sliding. I'm sliding my hips really badly there. That feels weird. And as soon as my body kind of recognizes what's going on, it starts to fix itself. Because once you can start to allow your body to experience what's happening in your own swing, you can correct it. It naturally starts to self-correct. But trying to force a correction early doors, you're kind of like you're trying to force your body to do something that actually it hasn't experienced anything. You're now just guessing. Does that make sense?
It does, but what comes up in my mind when you say that is when I'm working on something and I'm trying to experience it, I'm trying to feel it, that's a conscious effort. But what's difficult is to try to feel or experience something that went wrong. It's like, in retrospect, how did that feel different than what I've been working on, what I'm feeling when I'm consciously working on something?
So let's
you know what I'm saying?
So yeah, I agree. So let's say, for instance, I'll give you an example how you could potentially work on this. So club face, as we know, is probably king in golf. Okay. So the first thing I would do when anyone loses their game, the very, very first thing I would focus on is no body movements, no nothing. Just put your attention on the club face. So we know that ultimately, let's say if you're a right-handed golfer and you're slicing it, that we know the club face is open. Yeah, we know it's coming across the line of the golf ball. So what I do now is this. I would pay attention to that club face, and I'd literally just try to experience that club face. I'd look at it first of all. I'd put it up there, and I kind of feel where that is, and then I'd make a swing. And all I would do is simply see if I could pay attention to that club face throughout the entire swing. Can I keep my attention on the club face? Not try and change it, not try and do anything fancy with my body or anything. Literally just pay attention to the club face. Because here's my feeling. You don't want that club face to be open, but it's open because you can't feel it's open. You only know it's open after the event. If you were paying attention, you could feel where that club face is.
Right.
In present time, your body's more likely to keep it square. Does that make sense? The reason why we get lost often when we start slicing it or hooking it or topping it, a lot of times is because people are just completely lost. They have no awareness of what's going on with the club head, the club face, no nothing. And then what they do is they try to kind of go, what was that thing? Oh yeah, to stop a slice, I've got to swing into out. I must be swinging over the top. But you're swinging over the top with the club head. So the very first thing you've got to experience is, where is that club head in space? If you want to swing that club head into out and get rid of your slice, you have to first of all feel where it is. Then where it is, once you know where it is and you can feel it, you can then swing it in different directions. So that's always my goal with students is goal number one is on a basic level, you have this lump of metal. Feel where that lump of metal is in space. If you're slicing it, you know you're coming out to win. Well, can you feel, first of all, connect with a lump of metal, then imagine that lump of metal swinging into out, but feel it. Can you feel it heading in a different direction? Cool. Now take it to a deeper level. You've got the lump of mass, it's moving into out. Where's the club face? What's happening with the club face? Is it open as it swings into out? Is it closed? What is it? And you might go, I don't know, I can't feel it. Okay, good. Just keep going until you pay attention to that club face. If you have to swing a little bit slower to kind of feel the club face, you do that. But you build it up, and then once you've got a feeling the club face, you've got a feeling the club head, the mass of the head, it's swinging in a direction. Okay, now I've got some control, right? Now you make it more efficient by then starting adding in the rest of the body parts. How do I make it more powerful? Well, I've got to move my shoulders a bit more. I've got to maybe turn my hips, all those kind of things. But you start, first of all, with the core element, which is, what is that club head doing in space? Where is it moving? How is it moving? Let's start there.
You maybe start there, but we have much more to follow up on that. I really want to go after you on this one, and we're going to do it when we come back after this. We're talking with Danny Maude, YouTube sensation. One of my favorite YouTube instructors, Danny Maude. Maude. Check him out on YouTube. What's your website again?
DannyMaude.com.
Or is it?
Yes, DannyMaude.com.
DannyMaude.com. Maude. Okay, so feel that club face, right? This is what we've just talked about for the last couple minutes. You feeling that club face? I've got a tough time with that.
Cool.
I'm trying to feel where my wrists are. I'm trying to feel what, like on am I getting the proper lag on my swing? There's a lot of body parts that I'm trying to feel where they are supposed to be in space, and how difficult that is to now connect something external in my body that is like 40 inches, 35 inches away from me.
Yes.
I'm struggling with this one, Danny.
Cool. So here's the thing. So
I knew you'd love that.
I love it. So I have this a lot, So people, we love, golfers love to get into the kind of tell me how this body part moves. Tell me about the takeaway. Tell me about the backswing. Mm-hmm. I love let me get into the nitty gritty. That club head is boring stuff, But the reality is your body is super, super smart. Once it can fit, so you think about it, with the big hot topic over the last few years has been what? Club head speed. Yeah. So once if you were to take a club, and if your viewers can, your listeners can do it. If they just take a club in one hand, and literally just hold it fairly lightly, just in your fingertips, and start swinging it around, they'll feel like there's this great big lump of mass, and it's almost out of control. Yeah. You allow the lump of mass to kind of feel like it's out of control. Now, what's great about this is that your body now can start to react to that head. It can start to move in such a way that kind of swings that mass over your right shoulder at the top of the backswing. And then as you swing that lump of mass over your right shoulder, the body can feel that momentum. And then the momentum of the club now feels like it's going too fast. So what do you think your body will do when you swing that big lump of mass over your right shoulder? it's going to want to resist that mass. It's going to want to go in the opposite direction. So what do you see with all top players? There's a real simple example, and people try and copy this. You'll see the best players in the world. They swing the club, and as they club, just before the club starts to get to the top of the backswing, they're already naturally transferring their weight over to the lead side. It happens really naturally. But people try and copy that, right? Mm-hmm. They say, oh, you've got to transfer your weight before you get the club to the top. But you don't need to think about that kind of stuff. When you let the mass of the club swing, you imagine this for a second. Just hold it in a few fingers and throw the club behind you. You're going to feel the momentum of that club head away from the target. As that momentum goes away from the target, what do you think your body's going to want to do as that momentum goes away from the target? What do you think it's going to want to do? It's going to want to move, your body's going to want to resist. It doesn't want to fall over to the right hand side. It's going to want to resist. So your body naturally starts to react to this kind of weight and moves towards the target. That's just using natural forces all the time. Yeah, but most of us, the problem is, if we can't feel the club head, let's imagine now we're literally hanging on, everything's stiff, our wrists are stiff, our arms are stiff. Without the momentum of the club head, your body is lost and it has no idea what to do. Because without the momentum of the club head, what is it doing? If the club is just a simple extension of the arms, it now becomes lost. And how do you generate club head speed if you're not letting the club head go? I don't know about you, but I can't move my arm very fast. Certainly can't move it at 100 miles an hour. But if I let that club head go a little bit, I can generate some serious speed, one. But the other thing I can do is the club head and the balance and the weight of it, it teaches my body where it needs to be in order to swing and time that club. You gotta watch.
Yes.
You gotta watch the videos to kind of.
Like I said before, you make things sound so simple. Yeah. Well, no. It's your words. Use your words. You tell your kids this all the time. Use your words.
Use your words. Yeah.
And that's what makes your video so good, because you're able to make it succinct. You're able to do this. But you work with so many people, and forget about the videos. Now you work with a lot of people one-on-one, and you give them these explanations. Do you find that they tend to go, yeah, I tried that on the course, and it wasn't like that they work on these things while in a round of golf, or do they actually go and practice them?
I think it's it's certainly a mixture. And I think this is one of the reasons why I prefer not to use lots of golf language and help people connect with the golf club and the feelings of their own swing. Because the reality is that, golf is pretty straightforward. The role is to, first of all, decide on what shot you're going to play. And then the aim is to make sure, can you get your body and the club head to do the shot you're about to do, right? So ultimately, you're trying to get someone to actually connect and feel that club head in relationship to the shot you're playing. And when they struggle to do that on the golf course, one of the reasons why they struggle is they get distracted. The nervousness about hitting a dodgy shot. If you think of it this way, I say this analogy to many of my students. I say, look, have you ever had a conversation with your better half where they've been talking to you and they've been talking about lots of things, but they turn around and say, Fred, you haven't been listening to a word I've said, have you? And you're like, yes, that's true. And your ears could have heard every single word that came out of their mouth, but do you know what? Your mind was elsewhere. Well, this for me is very much like a golf swing. You could feel lots and lots about your golf swing. You could feel what's going on. You could feel why you hit bad shots. You could feel why you hit good shots. The problem is we flood our heads with so much information, so many concerns about where the ball might go or where it might not go, what our partners might think to us if we hit a dodgy shot, that all these kind of thoughts are interfering with our ability to experience our own swing. So one of my goals in a lesson is not for a student to leave with lots more information. My goal is can they learn a new distinction about their swing? Can they learn to kind of sense exactly what they're doing And when they start hitting some good shots, they go, I get it, Danny. And when they get it, I say to them, don't tell me. I don't want you to tell me, because as soon as you tell me, you're going to tell me in words what that is. And you're going to try and turn an experience into words in a language. You can't do that. You're limiting it. It's just a sensation that we have when we hit a good shot, and that's fine. That's what you have to leave it with. Not, well, what I did is I felt my left hip move forward and turn this way, and you kind of spoil the whole thing, and then you turn it into a tip. And it works that day, and then you come back the following day, it doesn't work anymore. And the reason being is you've turned that experience into something really rubbish and kind of, what do you call it? It's kind of, I don't know what the word is, if I can't get the word out of my mouth. It's just not real then. It's kind of, you're trying to make something that is not possible to turn into words into like a tip. And that's really what I try and get golfers to do is to shut down a lot of the stuff that's getting in the way, so that they can start to experience and feel their own golf swings. I want them to hit, when they hit a bad shot, I don't want them to start getting frustrated and angry with it. What I want to do is I want them to hold their finish and just notice if there's anything particularly that is different to the last shot. And sometimes they'll go, well, Danny, I hit that shot, I have no idea. And okay, cool. That's fine. Just move on. And then we'll but I want you to keep paying attention. As you're playing that round of golf, just keep paying attention, hitting the shots. And when you hit a dodgy shot, don't get frustrated with it. It's not a dodgy shot. What it is it's another opportunity for you to feel potentially what might be going on. And then you hit a good shot, do exactly the same thing. And of course, that requires a level of patience that, unfortunately, we're in a world where we want instant results. So what we do is we look for the fastest tip. And when we hit a dodgy shot, we try and fix it immediately with a guess. We're guessing what we're doing. And that's where we tie ourselves into knots, and we try tip after tip after tip. And before you know it, our heads are full of stuff, loads of stuff again, and we can't feel our own golf swings. And that's when we get lost. We get into that kind of spiral where we have no idea what we're doing.
And speaking of lost, we need to find our way. I don't know what that means, but we're going to take a time out and figure it out. We'll be right back. Tip after tip after tip. So on your videos, you're working with someone, or you talk about someone you were working with. Are you big on drills? Do you like giving drills?
Yes, I love giving drills, because drills are a way to get somebody to experience something new. They're pretty straightforward to do, and the idea is if you can control the drill, if you can actually get, let me give you an example. So again, let's just talk about this lesson I just had recently. So the drill was super simple, and it's something that we transferred to the golf course. So I basically said a drill would be this person. He was fanning the club inside, so he was rotating the club very early, and the club was getting stuck around his backside. The club would be very flat and around his body. Because of that, he had to kind of swing up and over the top on the downswing and come across the line of the golf ball. So we all know what needs to happen. His club needs to be much, much more on line. It needs to be a lot higher at the top of the backswing. It needs to come down on the golf ball in a much more simple plane, a simple looking motion. But how do you get somebody to do that? Yeah, how do you get somebody to do all those complicated motions without overcomplicating it and overthinking it? Yeah. So for me, what I'm doing is I'm looking to the root cause of that. So I'm thinking to myself, what one thing is going to make the biggest difference? So I'm looking at it, and I'm realizing that the club head moves very quickly away from the golf ball and leaves the handle of the club way behind. So all I did, that's a pattern of movement. All I did was change his pattern. So the drill I gave him was exaggerated, but I said, move the handle away and leave the club head behind on the way back. And I want you to do it in a really exaggerated way. Now, even when he was trying to exaggerate it, he didn't do it. Because that's what it's like. You sometimes you can't feel it. So I showed him on camera, and I said, look, this is you feeling like you're exaggerating it. And he's like, really? It feels like I'm like this. I said, yeah, okay. So what do you think you need to do now to kind of exaggerate it? Okay. So he exaggerated. Now he feels like the handle is so, like the head's in a weird position as he drags it away from the ball. And we put it on camera again, and he's got like his perfect textbook takeaway. The triangle of the shoulders all beautifully moving away. And he says, Danny, that feels just weird and kind of wrong. But what we suddenly started to do is he started to move this club beautifully into a much better place. And I said, okay, cool. Now we've got the backswing. But the thing is, we need it flowing. The golf swing isn't just backswing, it's a flowing motion. So I said, imagine now, look, just swinging the club, handle lead on the way back, handle lead on the way through. This is the drill, handle lead, handle lead. So he started to get a feeling of this backwards and forwards in a flowing manner. And it was a different pattern, right? And we instantly, it was like the striking automatically got better. But in his own words, he suddenly felt more powerful. But when we put it on camera, he couldn't believe what it looked like, because what it felt in his mind, the image that I was giving him in his mind was pretty ugly. But when we put it on camera, it was pretty textbook. And that's what a drill does. And if you combine it with a video so you can just check on yourself a little bit, what a drill does is it provides you with some feelings to get the results that you need. But you've got to kind of assess it yourself. You've got to put it on camera just to check. And that's it. That's what a drill's for. Personally, it's helping somebody achieve the desired result in a way that they can experience and then take to the golf course. And clearly what we did with him is my next stage, once they've got the feeling, is I need to turn it into something that they can take to a golf course. So we just turned it into a waggle. So literally, I got him to waggle the club, and I made sure when he did the waggle, I made sure that the first part of the waggle was the handle leading, then the club, then back, the handle leading, then the club, as opposed to the other way around. That was it. And it worked.
Oh, the waggle. We talked about Manola earlier.
Waggle that shit.
Waggle and
That's
smack.
like...
And we'll just keep it at that. Hey, watch that.
Yeah.
Love that guy. So the video is so critical to help you feel.
I really think so.
It sounds like you may feel it, and you may not, but once you see it after you've experienced it, then you understand the feeling.
So I think what we've actually come onto here actually is probably one of the most important topics I believe in the golf swing. Okay, so I've just been practicing right here. Okay, just before jumping on here, I've been practicing. So as I said, I sometimes hook the golf ball, right? And one of the reasons why I hook it is I get a little bit too flat in the downswing. So I felt that I was getting the club into a really good place at the top of the swing. I felt it, and I'm a professional. I felt as though I was getting the club into a really good place. Mm-hmm. So I put myself on camera, and I was like, "That's not a good place. That's not a good place at all. I'm in a place that's going to hook the golf ball from there."
Wow!
Right. So I'm now just before here. I'm going, okay. I'm just going to try to get that club a little bit. Hopefully this is not too technical, but a little bit steeper in the backswing. I need to come down on the golf ball a lot more if I want to hit it straighter. So I'm going, that feels really, really steep. So I put myself on camera again, and I check, and I go, I'm still not steep enough. So I go again, and now suddenly what I'm doing is I'm using the drill that I'm working on to improve my swing. It's now giving me a feeling that I am super, super steep in the backswing, but I'm kind of giving myself security by putting myself on camera and proving to myself that what I'm feeling, which is an ugly looking movement in my own mind, it's not ugly at all. And that gives me more confidence to know that I'm working on the right thing. What stops people improving is they've seen the beautiful swings on the PGA Tour. And sometimes what you have to do is in order to make a change, you have to do something that feels strange, which will give you a picture that's ugly, which in your mind goes, PGA Tour players don't swing it like that. And if that's the only image that you're left with, you will never do it. So you have to put yourself on camera so that you can go, oh my God, it's not ugly. It's like a PGA Tour player. That's fine. I'll stick with that ugly feeling. But if you're only left with the image in your head and you haven't checked it, you'll never stick to it. In fact, when it doesn't work, you'll go, I knew it wasn't going to work. It's an ugly looking swing.
Just remember, you're not on the PGA Tour.
I know.
You are amateur hour.
Amateur hour. Yeah, that's very true. That is very
We're
true.
gonna get back into Manolo.
Back in Manolo. I love it.
So are you basing the drills that you provide, do you base them on, all right, this is a mid-level handicap player. Okay, this guy is a single-digit handicap player. Are you basing those drills on their performance level, or are you basing on their individual swings?
Oh, always. I would say, well, actually, no, it's probably a combination of both. I mean, clearly, their performance level, their age, their amount of time they have to practice, their willingness to improve, their level of patience. There's a lot of factors that will go into what drill I give somebody to do. And I get that buy-in before I do anything. Because if somebody says to me, Danny, I don't practice, I don't want to practice, I literally play once a week, I get up to the golf course and I just want to stop slicing it. I'm going to give them something very, very different to the person who practices.
Of course.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the simplest and most direct way to improve somebody's slice. And it could be as simple as, what we're going to do is, think about what someone has done with their driver. What do the manufacturers do with their driver? You can close the face on a driver, can't you? So you can literally close it by about 1.5 degrees, 2 degrees sometimes. And that can reduce, and you can alter the weight as well. So sometimes that is a really, really great way to improve somebody's ability to reduce their slice. It won't get rid of a slice because you've still got a slice swing. But what it does do is it makes the club face close down a little bit more. So that is a quick win for somebody who doesn't want to make any changes, doesn't want to practice or anything. So there's a quick win. And I would give someone that tip. I said, let's look at drive. You must move the weight over towards the heel of the club to slow down the heel and speed up the toe. And we'll maybe close the face just a fraction as well. And there's a quick win. Yeah. But I wouldn't give that to somebody necessarily who's decided that they want to really improve their swing to get better, because that's a quick fix and it doesn't. A slice swing has its problems. It has its problems in lack of distance, and it has its problems with inconsistency of strike too. So a drill to fit the person.
I'm going to follow up with that when we come back right after this. Okay, you do a drill to a person, and then you make videos with drills. But those have to be kind of generic, don't they? Your videos are not for a specific person. Uh-oh, I cornered him.
Funny. Do you know what? When I picture my when I do a video, I actually picture the user. And do you know what? It's really interesting. My demographic reflects the person I'm aiming at. So one of the things is if you've got the type of golfer that is a complete novice, they're going to benefit from my videos because they're pretty straightforward. One thing I would say is although I don't target my videos at PGA Tour players or the guys trying to get onto the tour and whatever. That's not my audience. So what I do is I tend to tailor my content for your club golfer. And I know the club. I was a head professional of a golf club for 15 years. I just know them. I know their struggles. I know what they, I know what they need. And then the amount of hours I've spent listening to them talking about their games and what have you, and still now continue to be with them on the lesson tee. The drills that I come up with are for those golfers. They're not for the like I said the PGA Tour players or whatever. They're for people maybe like a senior golfer that doesn't have the flexibility like they had before. And I'll come up with a drill, and you'll notice with the drills as well, I'll always build the drills. So they'll be often 3 steps in, and the first step in the drill will be a real basic one that, do you know what, if you just do that one thing, you'll see some progress. With a senior golfer, for instance, who's gripping on for dear life, you'll hear me say, well, let's get the club head flowing first. Don't do anything else. Just get that club head flowing, and you're going to get some yardage just by doing that. You really will. Okay, but then, Danny, I do that. I've got some extra yardage, but how do I keep that yardage down the middle of the fairway? Okay, cool. Well, now we move on to step 2, right? So now you've got some speed. You can feel the speed. That's drill number 1. It's a nice, simple one. Then we move on to step 2, which is now we can start to move the body. And I will then give that drill, which is super simple drills. One drill I actually learned, I think you've had him on your podcast, Fred Shoemaker, wonderful coach. And I was at a conference with him, and he gave me a wonderful way to teach people how to make a wonderful turn, which was, imagine somebody's called your name and look over the back of your shoulder. Someone behind you has shouted your name, and you turn around and look behind you. And as you look behind you, you're looking over your trail shoulder. Well, to do that, your ankles, your knees, your hips, and your shoulders and your chest have to work in a certain way to make a turn. Yeah. And that's it. And that's the backswing right there. Now, the great thing about a drill like that is it doesn't matter your age, your ability. You will only turn as far as your body will physically allow. And so that's my goal. Is I try to come up with drills that are more, yes, generic, but they work, but they work for everyone in the sense that you won't push them beyond your flexible limit. They won't hurt you. But if you are flexible, brilliant, you'll be able to turn more. If you can't, you'll be able to turn less, and that's fine. But at least you'll be able to maximize what you can do.
Do you feel that flexibility, mobility is, sure, as we age, our body doesn't respond the way it did, but there's ways around that. You can continue to work on your body. We talked about, for months, these dynamic golfers. We talked about the exercises and the stretching that are targeted for golfers. It's not yoga. It's not working out with weights. It's just doing stretches that anybody can do. And even an older demographic, you're going to be able to get more flexibility. You're going to get more of your hip turn and your shoulder turn with these workouts.
Yeah, no, I would say, I've said to some of the senior golfers, you're better off, you're better off doing that than sometimes coming for a golf lesson. I really believe that. If you can improve the quality of your neck, just simple neck movements, if you can improve the quality of your flexibility, you will improve your golf. And probably more than actually sometimes coming to a golf lesson. Because a lot of faults in a golf swing, often as we get older, our body doesn't want to hurt itself. So what I see a lot is eventually you just become too reliant on your hands and your arms. And one of the reasons why you become reliant on your hands and your arms is because your body's telling yourself, I don't really want to move. It hurts a little bit. It feels a bit stiff. And as soon as the body has some kind of level of resistance, it kind of chooses the easy option, I'm going to move my hands, I'm going to move my arms. And, what I do with my students, I've got a personal trainer. We've got attachments to local physios and people who do yoga and Pilates and whatever. And I'll always kind of suggest, look, in conjunction with golf lessons, I'll always suggest, please, if you can, it does take 5 or 10 minutes, on a daily basis, nothing out of most of your schedules. Please try to work on your movement and your flexibility, not just for the game of golf, but just for your overall health and balance and all those kind of things. It is so wonderful. It makes you feel good. It stops injury. It's such an amazing thing for us all to do.
Well, for Golf Smarter listeners that have been listening for a while, they'll know that we had Dynamic Golfers as a sponsor for a long time and multiple times. and promoting just that. And having you say that,
Yeah.
it reiterates everything I've been talking about for months. And I really firmly believe in these 15 to 20 minute workouts. I'm trying not to do a commercial for them because
massive.
they're no longer a sponsor. But, it makes a difference. It really makes a difference.
It really does.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to throw this one out at you. Congratulations. You've just been named Commissioner of Golf for the world. What
For the world?
What rule changes
Oh,
are
you
you?
put me on the
Yes,
spot.
for the entire world. You got RNA, USGA, and every other commission there is. You're now in charge. What rule changes are you going to make? What's the first rule change you're going to make?
Oh my word. What rule change would I make? I would like, just right off the bat, I think I would love to see golf played over a short amount of holes. Just part of it. I'd love to see a tournament which would be maybe just a 6-hole shootout.
Wow.
Only
Professional
because I just
golf.
think that professional golf, but I think that would seep into the rest of the game. I'd like to see an ability for people just to play 6 holes
Wow.
somehow.
That's fascinating.
Because I just think, I think the thing about it is, I look at I don't know how big cricket is in the US, but certainly in England it's quite big, and we have the 2020 over here, and it's a Test cricket was dying. Test cricket lasted 5 days. And suddenly 2020 came over, and a test match was over in 20 overs, which is not even just a few hours. So it's gone from 5 days to just a few hours. And people were excited. It was like, it was just an exciting format. So I just think it would bring in much more younger people who don't have time to play golf, that would love to play. I think making golf faster, shorter, and just allowing that to happen would be just amazing. The logistics behind it, that's not my thing. But I think I would love to see
You're
a shot.
as the commissioner now, you get to say,
I'm
go
the
do it.
commissioner. I'm going to let everyone else decide how that's going to happen. But I would love to see a faster format. And I think it would just be so good for young people and people like myself who work and have young families who can't afford to spend 4 hours on a golf course. I think having that option would be really great. I've
frequently thought about and discussed the concept of, instead of 2 9-hole tracks, to make it 3 6-hole tracks.
Really?
So you can go out and you can play for an hour, you can play for 2.5 hours, you can play for 4 hours. But do 6, I don't know how you design the course, but make it 6, 12, and 18.
I just think we're still building golf courses, and we're still building golf courses in the same way we've always built them. And we generally, the best we can come up with at the moment is we put a clubhouse at 9 and we have 9 holes out and 9 holes in. But having it in such a way where, golfers could just literally go and play 6 holes. And like you said, they could, I just think I would love that. It'd allow me to play every day. And I would be more motivated to play every day. I sometimes find, with everything that I've got going on, I would love to play more golf. But when I look at a game of golf, I have to book a tee time. And I have to go and I've got to book 18 holes. And that, when I'm around here, that for me, it puts me off playing. It puts me off going, because I look, well,
daunting.
It's daunting. That's 4.5, 5 hours of golf. Now I'm fortunate, being the pro here. I can take a buggy and whip out onto the golf course and go and play my 6 holes. But I'm just talking from the perspective of somebody who's just got some time on their hands. They know that they have to book a tee time, and the only thing they can do is play 18 holes. It's daunting, and it's not feasible for most people.
It's true. It's true. Can you imagine just booking 6 holes would be, especially somebody with a young family? It's like, I can bring my kid with me now.
Yes.
I can't take him out for 4 hours.
Yes.
But I can take him out for an hour and a half.
Yes.
I can take him out for 2 hours.
Yeah. And you think about
And we
kids.
get great time together.
Exactly. And even just thinking about kids, what a great thing. Kids get bored, and if they're out for an hour and a half, that's great. That's just enough. But and I think, look, it's really tricky. Golf courses have been built for so many years now to somehow work that out. Like I said, I'm only the commissioner. we got to allow we got to allow the rest of the guys to kind of figure out how that's going to work. But I just think the future of golf, making it shorter, more exciting, more accessible, isn't just for PGA Tour players. I actually think it's for real people. If we want to grow this game, we need to make it fun and accessible, and that's just one way I believe that we could do it.
Okay, so you have your 6-hole tournament now that's on television every week. What about, because now they can do it every night. They can have a 6-hole tournament every night on television in the dark. What rule change would you make for recreational golf?
Recreational golf, rule change.
For the amateur golfer.
I don't know.
For those of you listening right now, Danny is thinking very hard.
I'm thinking very hard
about this question. He didn't leave the room.
I haven't left the room. I am thinking very. I have no idea. I'm quite happy. I think I'm still not convinced. I'm still don't really understand the world handicap system. I don't understand. It's just. I mean, speaking to the members at the golf club, they still get confused. So.
Okay. I'll throw one out. What do you think about this? Playing out of divots on a fairway. Move the ball.
No.
Leave it there.
Yeah, leave it there. You gotta look.
No, you're no.
No, you gotta. I play the ball where it lies. I love that. I mean, that's not a rule you need to get rid of. I think. I think the variety. I think the thing about golf is a game that's supposed to teach us things, and I think you have a problem, you have to cope with that problem, and so I love the challenge of that personally, I love being, it makes you invent things, it makes you come up with things, it makes you be creative, Look at the great Seve Ballesteros. He's in the trees. He does stuff that's just, if you allow people to kind of make everything easy, you stop the fun sometimes of being inventive and being creative. So now that's not a rule I would like to change. No.
No, the fun part of golf is scoring low.
Yeah. But you know what? I think we might mention this in the last podcast. You say that, but you know what? What happens with people? So you would assume that most professionals then must be really ecstatic. They shoot low, right? So they're miserable.
They're miserable too.
They're miserable because the thing is so shooting low. Shooting low is not the fun part of golf, because what happens when people shoot low? How many times have you heard somebody in the clubhouse and they go, Danny, they used to come to me all the time. Danny just shot 44 points in the stable for. Oh, but you know what? If it wasn't for that shot out of bounds on the 7th hole, so even a great score, and they kind of, they're kind of like devaluing it and making it bad and feeling bad because of that one dodgy shot.
Right. One shot. Oh, gosh. Danny, as always, I'm so glad you agreed to come back on the show. I've been waiting to get you back on. I enjoy your videos so much. Everyone needs to be a subscriber to Danny Maude YouTube channel and DannyMaude.com, DannyMaude.com. He's one of the best in the world, and you can see by the number of subscribers why. His content is phenomenal. Danny, really, really enjoyed having you back on.
No, I've really enjoyed it. Thanks for inviting me.